Welcome to where the screen door slams and the coffee mug hits the table. You're listening to The Family Balancing Act with me, Maureen Huntley, mom, grandmother, and board-certified holistic and functional medicine health coach. Each episode will explore the realities of your day-to-day family life in this modern era of nonstop texts, memes, and technology. After all, how do we keep ourselves sane and our family healthy? I'll have amazing guests and thought-provoking discussions, and we'll take a holistic look at family health, emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual. Whether it's a micro perspective of family involving healthy snacks, teenagers with an attitude, stressed out husbands, partners, adult children, potty training, elder care, grandchildren, college prep, or a macro perspective of world events, including flu, earthquakes, the brainwashing media, finances, and oh, so much more. We'll find a way together. So take a deep breath, exhale, and know that you're not alone. Bring on the Family Balancing Act. Welcome to the Family Balancing Act. Come right in, pull up a chair and grab a coffee or a green juice, because we have a lot to chat about here on the Family Balancing Act, where we are restoring the heart of motherhood, one conversation at a time. I'm Maureen Huntley, certified holistic and functional medicine health coach, mom, grandmother, wife, and CEO of My Family Home Operations. Just trying to balance it all when actually it's just a wobble, because there really is no balance, if at all, you know? So the family bucket list. One day you wake up and there won't be any more time to do the things you've always wanted to do. Do it now. Paolo Coelho. So our guest today is Tereasa McGuire, Soul-Midwife and end-of-life doula, but she does way more than help her clients put together their send-off and get their paperwork in order. She helps them with their bucket list. But she has another name for it, and I'm sure I'm going to hear all about it when I bring her on. But for now, I just want you to hang on, because I'm going to blither away here about some things that have been wobbling around in my head, looking for balance. Since my last show, episode 104 with Ethna Ring, just trying to get the secrets out and talking about how we need to release them because they don't do us any good and they don't do our families any good. Well, I can't stop thinking about releasing the secrets we've held on to for so long and how that impedes our lives, just dragging that stuff around, wishing and wondering, how can we just let it go? How can we let go of this stuff? So many times I've said to those I love, my family and friends, or even those I don't even know very well, oh, just let that stuff go. Release it, dump it. Just tell it to fudge off. Doesn't work like that though. Telling you or anyone else to let it go, just let it go, that stupid song, is like spitting into the wind. It'll just come right back at you, just like that. And somebody says it. Because, I think, well, what do you know about me? Like, I don't want you telling me that. I like my story. It's my story, and it's been working for me. Although I feel absolutely drained, exhausted, and overdone by it. And I actually don't really think anybody is really listening to me anyway, because I don't freaking shut up about it. Well, really not sure if the latter is true. It's just my stream of consciousness. When I work with my clients, I guide them toward just starting somewhere with this stuff, just kind of letting it release, find a way to release the junk. And I usually start with releasing the junk in your house or your car or your children's bedroom or the backpack, or even starting with your purse, or even the stuff that's in the thing in the car with the little door and it comes down, all that stuff you shove in there. But you know what?
sometimes that doesn't even work because there's emotional attachment to it. Oddly, that so-called junk is just dragging us down, that little itty bitty junk. For years, I carried my father's old social security card. Yeah, I did. After he died, I carried this stupid card. It wasn't so stupid, actually. It meant a lot to me. It was a little piece of him. He used to carry it in his wallet, so I put it into my wallet. It was torn, tattered, and you couldn't even read it. Couldn't even read the numbers on it, but I knew it was his. I just thought it was a little piece of him that I could physically carry with me. It was so small, but it was sucking up space in my head and my heart. Don't all of us only want to be just free and lighter in our hearts and our minds and our bodies too? One of my very favorite quotes is by Mark Twain. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off those bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. When we're being held in a space with all that stuff, that mental stuff, that emotional stuff, and physical stuff, and spiritual stuff, we so often don't think that we're really staying on track with our dreams and our wishes and our exploring. Our sails are not sailing. In fact, they're down. So what's dragging you down? Where does all your energy go? And what is it that you really want to do in this life of yours? When I'm feeling kind of stuck in my story and in my stuff, I put my attention on my family and my love and joy, or I try to. I try to put it on the little things. But so often, like everybody else, I get my head stuck up the other end of my body and I can't see the little things and the joy and the love and my family. So I thought, hey, I'm going to put together my bucket list. Yes, my bucket list, my dreams, my hopes, my wishes, and all the things I want to do. And when I look over my life, I think I've done a lot of those things already. I have had a full life, and I intend on having an even fuller life. I have no intentions of checking out just yet, but you never know. We don't know. None of us know. So why not put together your own bucket list? Just for fun, just for the things you want to do. And I know a lot of people do the travel bucket lists, but we certainly learned in the last 2 years that wasn't that easy to keep up with. And God alone knows what will go on next in this world of ours. I mean, truly, God alone knows. But how about a family bucket list of all the things you'd like to do? Now, this bucket list is just a list of ideas, no huge, big experiences. You could put Disney World on there, but, for some people, that's a massive deal. And that is like an expensive, massive deal. But how about the little things? Not only for yourself, but for your family. So I found this list, and it's on a site called morethanmainstreet.com. That's some really great ideas for families to do together, right from the comfort of their homes. So the whole point is, though, you do it together. And you have this experience together, but you also have the experience as an individual. And you feel the feelings. You feel the love. You feel the joy. So here's some of these very simple things that they suggested, with a few of my own tossed in. Plant a garden. How about that? Isn't that mind-blowing? Boom! You know why? Kids today, gosh, I sound like a grandmother, don't I? Kids today, I tell you this, they don't know what gardening is. They don't. They don't even know where food comes from. Well, they think it comes from the grocery store. It doesn't. It comes from a farmer. And the farmer grows things. So why not grow something of your own? Try to plant a tomato plant if you've got sunlight. And if you don't, plant some kale. It makes a good salad. Another thing is camping in your living room. Grab some sheets, some blankets, throw them over the furniture and make a giant tent. And everybody get in with flashlights and have this indoor experience of camping. Just don't set fire to your living room. Or how about catching fireflies or chasing after birds? There are tons of birds where I am right now. These big black birds. It feels like I'm living in the movie, The Birds. That's how many birds there are. But chase after them. They're not going to get you. They're just going to fly away. Get crafty. Make some scrapbooks. How about a family vision board? That's pretty cool. Like, do a board that actually has your bucket list on it, your dreams of what you want to do. Find out from everybody what they want. And even if the ones are too little, dream up something wonderful for them. Have this experience. Play in the rain. I remember my mother dragging us out in the rain one time, and there was like giant pellets coming from the sky. It's called hail. Hail just pouring out of the sky. And she made us get out in the rain, and you were getting hit by the hail, but we're all dancing around. And pretty soon we're throwing at each other and running around. It was so much fun. And it's a memory I'll always have. So when I say my bucket list is full, it really is. I have great memories, and they keep my heart full. And that's what we need to do for our families, is just to create these wonderful itty bitty memories. Have a picnic. Have a picnic on the floor of your sitting room or of your recreation room or outdoors. Or have a giant family picnic for all the families in your neighborhood. Those used to be called block parties. I haven't seen many of those happen lately. Hopefully people get out there and do it again. But keep playing. Work on a puzzle. Have everybody participate. And the last one I'm going to throw out there is have a karaoke night. A really bad karaoke night. Have some fun. Make fools out of yourselves. Who cares? This life is our lives to live, to just get out there and expand, and to give our kids the permission to do the same. So we have an incredibly special guest with us today. And after our break, I'm going to bring her on so we can begin at the end and at the end of our story. And you know what? Let's see where that takes us. Because most of us get scared or don't want to really look at that place called the end. But is it really the end? Maybe it's just the beginning, because none of us are really ever going to avoid it. So we'll be right back with today's guest, Tereasa McGuire. She's a stepmother, a granny, a teacher, a politician, a psychotherapist, and a soul midwife, a death doula. We'll be going deep into the releasing of it all and maybe accepting it and finding our way there. So sit back and take a deep breath, exhale, and know that you're not alone here on the Family Balancing Act.
You've listened to the shows on CTR, and perhaps you've found yourself thinking, maybe I should host my own show, but I don't know how. It's easier than you think. From the beginning, with private coaching sessions to your own live broadcasts, CTR Network will prepare you on every level to share your knowledge, expand your brand, and take your business to the next level. At CTR, we nurture your vision and make it a radio reality. Contact Cameron Steele at 425-221-3646 or Cameron at ctrnetwork.com and put your dream into motion today.
Welcome back to the Family Balancing Act. where we have an amazing guest today. And I am so excited once again to introduce Tereasa McGuire. She is a soul midwife, and let's get down and deep into the soul. So welcome so much, Tereasa. I am so excited to have you here. You are a wealth of information, and every time I spend time with you, I come away just lit up. So thank you.
Maureen, thank you very much for having me on. There's an incredible synchronicity in our thoughts because as you spoke, your previous piece, you talked about bucket list. And that is my absolutely word. Because like the phrase kick the bucket is a kind of horrible, not nice phrase. I much prefer
just let it all roll out and let it go. Yeah.
And then you went into nearly the frozen of letting go. And really, death is about letting go. It's a letting go and in curiosity and anticipation. And then I just have to do these four synchronicities first. You spoke about Mark Twain, and I had a lovely piece from Mark Twain, and it says, "The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully prepared to die. A man only lives who is fully prepared to die at any time." So we're on the same wavelength of
oh, wow.
Isn't it amazing? And
I love it.
I have said to people, you talked about family doing things together and having their wish list and their vision board. The greatest gift any one of us can give to our family is to have our affairs in order. And I'm not talking about the legal will and all that kind of junky stuff. I'm talking about the heart stuff. About, who do I want to make decisions for me? What are these decisions I want made? How comfortable I want to be? What information I want told? And I'm reading a lovely book at the minute called We All Know How This Ends. Like, we're all going to end.
What a great title. That is a perfect, but we're all in denial about it. Not all of us, but some, depending on your age in life, if I were to have this conversation with my youngest, who's 23, about this, he would just go, "Okay, please stop." Though you wouldn't want to hear it because he's not there.
But also, Maureen, society has shunned away from death because death is a medical failure in the 21st century.
Right,
whereas
right.
In the Middle Ages, death was an inevitable part of the cycle of life. Like, today being the 1st of November, like the veil between the two worlds is at its finest. And we remember those who have gone before us. And Ram Dass has a lovely, lovely book called Walking Each Other Home. And he says, everybody you've ever loved is a part of the fabric of your being right now. So all those people who've gone before us, they've left a footprint on our hearts and our spirits. And the language of letting go is our bodies die. They don't pass on to anywhere. They die into the earth or whichever form we choose to go. But I believe that our spirits transcend to another place.
I have no doubt. And I heard long ago, somebody, not too long ago, but they had described our physical state as a skin jacket. And I have this vision of it like this coat, and you just unzip it and your soul steps out and there you are. And I love how you call yourself a soul midwife, because we birth in and birth out. And it's like, I myself had a birth doula for my second child because the first birth was a great birth, but he ended up being a C-section. It was unnecessary, yada, yada. And I thought, I'm never doing this again. So I hired a birth doula, and she was my voice. She was able to communicate everything to everyone, the doctors, my husband, anybody else who was around. Yeah. And she gave me such peace, and I felt at ease, and that baby came fast and furious, and that was great.
You're so, I saw a lovely thing yesterday, and it's Erica Young, and she says, flesh is merely a lesson. We learn it and we pass it on. And that's the mistake we make. Isn't there a part of the human spirit that needs permanency, that needs solidity? Whereas really, we're transitory beings. And the role, my view, of a death doula is kind of threefold. It's to walk with that person, to be present, to hold a sacred space with this person as they're journeying, to be an advocate for them, to work with their family if they need that. And also, I think we have a duty of care to educate the community. We need to bring death back into the community. And we Irish do the wake incredibly well. Oh my God.
Oh, yes. The best send-offs ever.
Oh, and there's people getting, the one send-off is lasting a couple of weeks in some cases. But we don't do the pre-send-off as well, because there's that fear in us maybe that if we talk about it, we might make it real, and then we have sanitized death. If you go to a funeral parlor to see somebody, I have been to funerals where there was, say, a lady in the coffin. The woman never used blusher in her life, and she's two fine big red cheeks and lipstick, and you're going, who is this person?
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very unreal. It's like a fake dance or a theatrical event. I remember years ago being at different wakes, certainly here in Ireland and obviously in the United States, done so differently. But now today, in Ireland and throughout the world, it's very Americanized. Very Americanized. Everything is
sanitized.
Yeah, sanitized, scrubbed up nice and clean. But I remember doing it in the home and the wailing. The women, you'd hear the wailing and that, and the men were drinking.
And that's coming back now. There's a whole school of thought. In Ireland, they call the Irish word for crying is cuinu, and keening. It's a physical release, and in that keening, there's a release of energy. And it's nearly accompanying the soul, nearly like the fair to go to the next place.
It's like the energy lift.
Yeah.
It's like lifting the energy to send the soul forward.
To send the soul, yeah. And as a death doula or a soul midwife, or I love the Irish phrase, anam cara, like a soul friend, really I'm present to someone. I'm holding a sacred space with a heart connection. And, it's a learning journey for me too. I go in not offering any expertise because I'm no more expert on dying than anybody else. But I'm helping the person who's dying to write their own personal script, to have some piece of control over this time in their life. Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense. I think often people don't feel like they have control in their lives up until that point. Well, from the moment you're born, you're kind of being told you're being caretaken. Your mother takes care of you, your father, you're kind of put in a way, but you're still like dumped, like a terrible twos. You're not going to do it. But then we fall in. There's school and there's life and there's a job and there's, how you should act within society and what's proper, what's not proper, and how you push down everything. Now, as you face the next journey that only you can do, you can't take a crowd with you. No. Why not have control over that, which is beautiful.
And it's a bit like Judge Judy says, there's no minutiae. And it's one of the things I really love about this work is there's no filters. People are meeting at a heart level that hasn't become sanitized, that hasn't become civilized. And like I would say to you and to any of your listeners, if someone told you today you've got 4 weeks to live, what do you need to do?
Wow. I know you posed that to me before, and I stopped to think about it for about a minute, and then life went on. Yeah. I started talking away about something else. And I'm not going to get out of it this time, I guess. So I think I know what I would focus on cleaning up my stuff, in that I would use the time to connect with people I had maybe hurt or had hurt me, to release them from whatever grips they felt. Mm-hmm. And, maybe there's a part of me be like, oh, well, I'm going to drink a little more green juice and try to get out of this deal. But I think it's really about forgiving myself at an even deeper level.
Yeah.
And love. It's about love.
And the whole death doula thing is about love. It's about helping people let go. For, I have a lovely image in my mind of the trapeze artist. And my role is to be that safety net as they walk across that tightrope. If they have a wibbly wobbly moment, I can't stop them falling, nor should I, because it's not about me, but it's about just holding that sacred space. And it's very interesting that you said about, forgiveness, because Ira Byock, he talks about the prescription for the dying, and it's to be able to say, I forgive me, I forgive you, I'm sorry, I love you, goodbye.
Oh, God. That's beautiful.
And you know what, Maureen? We don't need to be actively dying to do that. What's stopping us doing it now?
Yes. That I have mentioned also the Ho'oponopono prayer. I always say it wrong, but that's kind of the gist of it. It's
but your life is beautiful in its imperfection, isn't that?
Yeah, right. We're always there is right. There's no balance. It's wobbling. Yeah. We wobble. But it's I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And in the same way, same vein, it is exactly that. And as we say that to ourselves, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. We need to say it to others. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And thank you for this journey. Thank you.
Yeah. And those 5 things are a huge core of my work. But there's also a huge legacy part for me, particularly working with people who are younger and they may want to leave something for their children. We might do some letter writing, we might do some video call, or as quite recently on a man's wish list, we spent a day in the zoo. Because he wanted, why, it's tying in what you said about, the board. Why would you wait until you're in the departure lounge to do things that we could do now? And Patrick Kavanagh, one of our absolutely greatest Irish poets, he said, to be dead is to stop believing in the masterpieces we can create tomorrow.
Wow. That's great. Powerful? It is very powerful. I feel it in my heart, my gut. Years ago, a friend of mine gave me a card, and I don't remember what was written on it, but other than there was a tapestry on the front and it wasn't quite finished. It was like 3/4 of the way done. And when I opened up the card, it said something to the effect of that this life we're living is just this tapestry that's not finished. And even we will never necessarily get it finished because this is only a piece of our life. This physical state is a piece of our life. It's like a dream, because I certainly believe in an afterlife.
And I find this work easier because I have that belief. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about the tyrannical rituality of religion. And I still think ritual is important because it gives us, like, otherwise we're like jellyfish. It's kind of a skeleton that we can flesh. Mm-hmm. But when it becomes, when we become slaves to it, it's time to walk away. And there's nothing slavish about dying. It's about releasing the spirit and the soul into another dimension. And I really believe that, it's that. And I know I have a bee in my bonnet about the language, I really have. Like, Paddy passed on. But where did he pass to? Like, no, he didn't. Paddy died. And Grandad isn't up hitting golf balls in the sky. Grandad is dead. Grandma isn't at the beauty parlour having the Botox in the sky. Grandma is dead. And, we have a huge responsibility as educators and as grannies and granddads and parents, to talk about death. Like, okay, it's not going to be the conversation at every gathering, every family gathering, but it shouldn't come as a shock to us.
Yeah, no, it's so important I believe, to bring up those that have passed at the dinner table. Even I've done this before because at times my mother-in-law, people don't always talk about her for whatever reason. She just was there and now she's gone. So grandma, who is gone. And I love to bring her up because I'll talk about my parents until the ears fall off of everybody's heads. I just, keep them alive. But sometimes, my mother-in-law wouldn't be talked about as much. And so I try to tell a story. Remember when, grandma did this, or remember she did this, or she was an amazing woman who had an amazing gift of languages. She spoke 6 languages. I mean, who does that?
Wow.
So, we keep people alive by bringing them back. That's how they're alive, are in our hearts, right? Yeah.
And they only die when we don't speak about them or acknowledge their presence in our heart. And like in the Celtic year, long before Christianity and St. Patrick hit Ireland, today would be New Year's Day. It'd be the day of the song, and it's kind of it'd be it will be celebrated as a festival, a kind of acknowledgement that for what had gone on and revitalizing for the next year's harvest. And today will be the New Year's Day where you sort of make your resolutions, and yet it's in the dark. So you're going to burrow down into the warm sanctuary of the earth and set your roots and your shoots until the spring comes next February or March, and you can raise your head above the parapet and face the sunlight. And to me, that's what death is. It's going down into that earth to emerge. And it's a bit like the phoenix. Like, the phoenix has to go through the flame and the ashes to resurrect.
Reemerge. Yeah.
To reemerge, yeah.
I was just going to say, I have this amazing, the way you describe it is this just amazing visual in my head of just a group of trees that are empty, have no leaves, but they're so beautiful. That's not a death. It's just a different way of looking at the trees.
And that it's cyclical.
Mm-hmm.
That come next spring, I would love to have the time and energy and I'm sure somebody has done it, to stand in the one place every day, take a picture of a tree. Like if you lived in New York, go to Central Park, picture a tree every day for 365 days, stand in the very same spot. And it would be just amazing.
Right, to just make it bloom. Just make it bloom and release. Bloom and that's what we need to do.
Yeah,
so when you are dealing with families, how are the families of those that are whose family member has, hired you?
The diagnosis. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting, again, Patrick Kavanagh, he has a lovely line about the Irish people. We're a dark people, our eyes ever turned inwards. So some families, it's no black and white, there's about 1 million shades of grey. There are some families who are very receptive and they realise the job I do. There are some families who see me as maybe a bit intrusive, mm-hmm. because the person who's dying has asked me to come on board. generally people are okay. But like my earliest recollection of families, long before I came to this work, was I brought a prescription to a home. It was Brompton Cocktail at the time for people who were terminally ill. And I called into the house, and I was downstairs talking to the daughter. And then, because I knew the mom, I ran upstairs to say hello and how are you? And she said, "Isn't it great? Mary doesn't know I'm dying." And I went downstairs, and Mary said to me, "Isn't it great? Ma'am doesn't know she's dying."
Wow.
And, I was young enough at the time, but I remember that incredible sense of sadness, of wastage of very precious time.
Yeah.
And it's not a blame game, you know. It's like my own parents died within months of each other. My father discussed everything, where he thought his soul might go, what might happen. My mother absolutely shut down. She couldn't deal with it, and it's sad because that's a very precious time.
Yes.
So to get back to families, you know, no family is uniform. You know, there's as many shades of variation of families as there are leaves on the tree. But I think when people see that you're there for the greater good of the person they love, and they get out of their own way, because, you know, a lot of times there's too many egos in one room, and there shouldn't be. Do you know?
Yeah, check your ego at the door. This is their job. This is their show now.
And it's parking your someoneness. I love that phrase. I park my someoneness at the door because I'm nobody when I go in there. I am just, you know what it is, Maureen? It's a heart meeting a heart in a fragile, sacred, precious, present moment. That's what it is. And you can dress it up any way you like. Like my mission, we're human beings. We need human contact. My mission is to be a presence.
And human touch.
Oh, I touch. Yeah. And it's interesting because the boundaries that are present in psychotherapy aren't quite as boundaried as here. But I mean, of course, you would always check with people, you know, would you like me to hold your hand? Are you comfortable? But we are creatures, you know, as John O'Donoghue said, we're humanoids. We need touch.
Yes, we do. And,
Don't we?
and I know so many times people, well, I know in my own family that as my parents were passing, or as my, certainly as my mother passed, my father, before she passed, the day before she passed, my father said, "You stay in bed, you sleep with her tonight." And he slept on the couch. He wanted me to sleep beside my mother. And that was such an amazing gift. But I couldn't touch her.
Most generous.
It was so generous, but I was afraid to touch her. And I'm sure and now I regret that I didn't hold her, but I was afraid I would break her or I'd kill her. I didn't want her to go. I was the one in fear. I was so scared.
I'm laughing at that because when my granny would come from Sligo to stay, I'd get the job of sleeping with her. And I'd wake up and I'd say, "Oh, Mother of God, is she breathing?" She said, "Please don't die on my watch. Wait till you get home, don't do it." But it's that fear.
Well, and I knew she was going, but I was like, "Don't die while I'm in the bed with you." You know, that was, but it was my mom, and that wouldn't matter. And actually, when she did pass, I was right there with her, but my father was holding her hand, and he was telling her, I had two of my cousins there, and one of my cousins brilliantly asked, "How did the two of you meet?" And he was holding her hand, and she said, and my father started to say how he started to tell their story, and every bit of the story, you go, "Isn't that right, honey? Isn't that right, sweetheart?" And he just kept holding her hand, and he kept talking and talking, and I noticed that as he was talking, her breathing was becoming more and more shallow. And we were all sitting there having tea, because that would be we'd have to sit around. That would be the crowd that would have tea. And we're sitting there, and I'm holding the teacup. And as I'm watching her breathing change, and my father is animated as could be, I looked at her, then I realized the lights went off. They went on, they went off, they went on, they went off, and then they went on. And my father was still talking and telling the story. And I looked at my cousins.
Your mother left this world.
I know.
They say hearing is the last thing to go. Your man heard your daddy.
Heard my dad's story. And my cousins looked at me like they knew she'd gone, but I wasn't sure I don't notice the lights, but I did. I'm like tuned into that. And I walked over to my father and I said, Daddy, she's gone, but she's not gone. She's not gone. She's gone, but she's not gone. But yeah. And like you, I lost my father 7 months later. Yeah.
But how privileged, Maureen, were you?
Oh,
wasn't that such a privilege?
Absolute privilege. Absolutely miraculous. Every part of the journey. And it can be complicated with family sometimes, but every part of the journey is miraculous. And one that no one should ever miss. Really, we shouldn't miss it because it means everything. Now,
it does. It sure does. And if you read any of the empirical research, those people who say, it's all heart stuff, it's all Lula stuff. But if you read any of the empirical data, they say, the number of people who want to die at home with their families in their own bed, surrounded by the people whom they love. And that's where COVID must have been absolutely shocking.
Yes,
for
horrific.
People who are dying,
unnecessary,
and the grieving people.
But there's no closure with that, and I have to wonder if a deeper work has got to be done for those families, and that's your field, because not only for those that are here, but for those that have passed, because maybe there's some things needed to be said, because they'd be in those situations for maybe a short period of time, long period of time, but there was no resolve that we know of. I mean, maybe there were in some families, but no resolve. And that's inhumane. Absolutely inhumane.
Kind of unrelated, as you were saying that about closure. My father, about 5 years before he died, was diagnosed as having diabetes. And the day before he died, he absolutely adored jelly and custard. And of course, you couldn't have either, with the sugar level. And the day before he died, he said, I'd love some jelly and custard and ice cream. And my mother was saying, oh God, Jim, the sugar level. He said, I don't think it's going to matter too much now. He had his own closure in his own kind of way. But when you talked about, your mother, I'm back at that bed beside Daddy, holding his hand, telling him it's okay to go.
Yeah.
And we will honor you by living as we were brought up to live, loving each other and doing the best we can for each other. And are they dead when we speak about them in those tones? No, I don't think so.
Not at all. And honestly, I believe that things will happen. They'll always be around. Just dreams. For me, my parents come to me in my dreams. They'll show up. Just simple things. Or it'll be in a Christmas song. Or it'll be in having, my fruitcake. I know I'm one of those fruitcakes that likes fruitcake, but I make my own fruitcake. And it's my mother's recipe and my father's recipe. But that brings me home. And they always say you can't go back home, but that is home. Home are those memories and family.
Yeah. And it is family.
Mm-hmm. It is family.
Home is people. It's not a building. It's not a place.
And sometimes it's not
kind of state of mind.
Yes, it's a state of mind, because sometimes it's not your original family. It might be the family you've acquired. It might be very, very close friends, or something even bigger. And there's a piece that I was reading about what end-of-life doulas also help with are with animals. If somebody has fur family and they have no other family, and how they, they help them to find other homes or other situations rather than going into a shelter or something.
Oh yeah. And like, I believe, just when you say about animals, you see, I believe that animals are spirits like us, but just come in different forms.
Yes. I remember in school being told, oh, well, animals don't have souls. And I never believed that baloney.
Do you remember that thing being taught, like the stone was the lowest form, it had no life, no energy. Then there was the plant, then there was the animal, and then there was man, who was the all-conquering hero. And you know what? Like,
the stone has energy. The earth has energy. It's all part of the same circle.
And sometimes the stone has more energy and more soul than a lot of the two-legged humanoids that are trekking around the earth.
Oh, I know.
And do you know what's really interesting too? When you're doing death doula work, the amount of fun you can have, the amount of laughter, because, well, two things. We all know, like, laughter can be, a release. But, people revel in telling the story, or like your daddy telling your mammy, do you remember when we met, and do you remember you wore that dress and whatever? Like, people just get great consolation. And the person who is leaving and dying, they get some consolation. But in a lot of cases, they're nearly given consolation to those who are left.
Well, don't we? We keep giving and giving and giving until the moment we're gone, but then we still are giving because the stories never stop. And so before because we're going to sign off of this section in a moment, but I wanted to touch on your book you mentioned, Dying to Talk.
Yes, I'm going to just get it together and get finished. I want to do Dying to Talk, a kind of a manual for that departure lounge space. The rules, not the rules, the join and the dots that makes that departure lounge comfortable, bearable, and enjoyable, I suppose. And I'd like to think that when my time comes, and I hope it's not for a long time yet, that I will go with a wide-eyed curiosity as to, when I go through that portal, what's going to be next? And somebody famous once said, I'd like to arrive at my death slightly late and very drunk. It's not a bad way to
I'm with them.
But before I go, I saw a lovely quote, and it's what I say to myself before I go to work with someone. I say, when entering the space, let me listen with my heart. Let it be a mirror of my own great nature. Understanding is the ultimate seduction of the mind. Go in truth beyond the mind, and love is the bridge. My job is to be a loving bridge between this world and the next, so that people can cross over to that next world while their bodies die. Their spirit, the soul, the essence, the core of who they are will pass over to another realm or dimension in peace, and in gentle peace.
Teresa, you're amazing. You make me, and I know our listeners, feel that we can all do this. We all will do this, but with such ease and such joy. You are an amazing guest. And how do our listeners find you?
Well, I have a Facebook page called Safe Sanctuary, because that's what I offer to people, a safe sanctuary from the troubles, I suppose, that's around. Or I have an email address that it's Tereasa McGuire 21@gmail.com. I'm sort of like the forever 21.
Aren't we all?
Maureen, thank you very much for having me. And it's been such a privilege and a blessing. Thank you. And thank you
so much. And we will be right back after this, and we will be posting all of Teresa's information on our Facebook page. Thank you again, Teresa.
Thank you.
We've got some Mom Zen's meditating moments for moms and the family. But let's first work with Mom. So you can take a moment to just breathe, I know, and exhale. If you can close your eyes and put your hands on your heart and just feel your heartbeat. Just feel it. Stay there with your heartbeat. You are a precious, precious being, and you are so needed. All of us are so needed, but you are special. You are here at this time and in this moment to make a difference in this world. So take a deep breath in and exhale. And as you do, feel your heart growing larger and larger, taking in all the beauty of you, of the world, of God, of our Creator. And take another deep breath in and exhale. And as you go throughout your day or your evening, or if you're listening to this before you go to sleep, just take the time to appreciate yourself, to love yourself, to forgive yourself. You are worthy. Now take a deep breath, exhale, and come back. I want to thank you so very, very much for joining us today and our wonderful guest. She was wonderful, and don't wait another moment to actually take the time to imagine, write out your bucket list, as I call it, but to imagine what your future is, and don't let anything take away your dreams. So how you can get in touch with me if you have any questions or you'd like to hear more about what I do, I am at maureenhuntley.com. You can just leave a message there, an email. I do one-on-one coaching and workshops, and also do group sessions. So thank you so much to Contact Talk Radio, to the CTR Network, and to all our podcast forums and Facebook Live when we're on there. We are so honored and thrilled to be doing this. The Family Balancing Act is live here every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, noon Eastern Standard Time, and 24/7 on the CTR Network, where all our podcast forums can be found. Thank you again so very much for joining us. Our intention here at the Family Balancing Act is that you get quiet, you hear and you feel what your heart is saying to you. Everything you need is inside of you. Everything. The outside is just a reflection, the illusion, and the noise. So take a deep breath, exhale, and know that you're not alone here on the Family Balancing Act.